Hi guys, how's it? Kia ora to my kiwi whanau, and good day to everyone else. Man, as everyone knows, this morning, Rugby 22 was released across various platforms all across the world at 10 a.m. local time here. And I just thought, you know what, man? Hey, look, I'm around 40. I did grow up in that generation. I got a Nintendo in the 80s. I got the Super Nintendo in the 90s. Never got the Mega Drive or Sega Genesis, as we called it here in the US, North America. But, I got various gaming systems. As an adult now, you see some empty spaces back here. I do own a lot of video games. We have in our house currently right now, we have Xbox One, 360, and Xbox, the original Xbox. We have PlayStation 3 and 4. We have Nintendo DS. We have original Nintendo. We have Super Nintendo. We have a couple of different emulator systems. We have the Wii system. We have various systems in this house. A lot of old school traditional games. I'm a big old school video game guy. Like I said, I'm of that generation. I still like to go to arcades even as an adult, man. Throw in quarters at the arcade and just have fun, man. It's just a real big thing for me growing up here in this part of the world was going to the arcade at the mall, man. That was a really big one for me growing up. And as an adult, arcades have kind of begun to make their comeback. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let's talk about rugby games. An American guy talking about rugby games for various platforms. Because, you can get online. You see the video going on behind me. This is on YouTube. This is some, I think, English or French guy. I have not downloaded the game as of yet. $50 kind of seems a little pricey, and from what I'm seeing, I'm not too impressed so far with what I'm seeing. But I thought, hey, let's talk about rugby games throughout history. Now, first off, I'm not going to be able to talk about everything because we're not really able to get everything here in the U.S. I could not find a hard copy of Rugby 22 here. I guarantee I'd have to have it imported, or it would cost me heaps to get it from the manufacturer. And, besides that, I think most people just download anyways. The last handful of rugby games I've bought, I've just downloaded them. It's easier just to go into the PlayStation Store, Xbox Store, pay a couple bucks and get them downloaded. But you do get lucky. You do get lucky and find hard copies here domestically occasionally. As you can see, I've got a couple off to, and I'll talk about these in just a few moments. So let's talk about sporting games in general. Obviously, the gold standard, it seems, around the world is FIFA. The FIFA series by EA Sports. I have a couple of those. I'm not a big footy guy. I'm not a big soccer guy. I grew up playing it a bit, like I think all youth kids do in this part of the world. Just not really big on it now. It's a bit boring to me. I do apologize. I know some people are like, hey, it's exciting, yada, yada, yada. Look, it's like cricket. Not everybody gets cricket. I love cricket, but people here think it is the most boring sport on the planet. And I get that. So at least here in the United States, the gold standard is Madden. Now, I'm not going to go into a huge rant about the NFL games as of late. If you want to find that, you can get on YouTube. There's 1,000 million other guys talking about how bad they have gotten. And yes, I do agree. I have Madden 21. It is absolutely rubbish. It's horse crap. It's horrible. And then even on the games that I do prefer, stuff like NHL, I have 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. I have the NHL series. I'm a big hockey guy. Of course, I have all of those games. And I would agree they've kind of, they've gotten slightly better through the years. There's certain things that are great about them. There's certain things that I cannot stand about them. But I'm not here to talk about that. We'll talk about what we consider the gold standard, which is EA Sports here in the U.S. Now, there are those guys that will say Y2K for basketball. I don't play basketball. I'm just not. I think I might have like a NCAA for Xbox. I'll play NBA Jam. That's basketball for me. The 2-on-2 where you do the front flips and back flips for dunking and stuff like that. Yeah, it's always fun. Or NBA Hang Time, which was kind of a continuation of that same series along that line. But like I said, the gold standard in this country, and it seems to be the rest of the world, is EA Sports. Now, as you will see right here. Oh, I drop it, of course. Once upon a time, EA Sports made rugby games, guys. I think everybody knows this. This is my particular favorite of that series. I know they made it all the way up to 8. The 2008 copy had Richie McCaw on the cover here. This is obviously the 05. I want to say 04 had an Irish player on the cover, perhaps. And I even remember Rugby 95 for the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, as everyone else called it in the world. That is actually a funny story. The Video Game Museum is here in North Texas. It's in Frisco. It's actually right by where FC Dallas plays. And on one of their exhibits, they have Rugby 95 for the Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive. And guess what? I sat there and played that and had a bunch of kids coming up asking me, hey, how do you play rugby? So it's always great. This is kind of a good gold standard. This came out for the Xbox system, Microsoft. This is a fun game to play. Heaps of tutorials on it. Obviously, I don't know if that's just the North American edition of it to try to teach Americans how to play rugby. But this is not a bad game. It's not great, but it's not bad. Then we will go to a bad game. The last one, you can find heaps of copies of that domestically. Not hard to find EA Sports Rugby domestically at used video game stores. Not hard at all. I think I paid $4 for that US. Then we get to Rugby 15 for the PlayStation 4. I had this for PlayStation 3 as well. Now this game is rubbish. I have been able to score 100 points against teams on the hardest setting easily on this. It lags, it drags, the cameras are horrible. You do get the top 14 and you get the premiership teams out of it, which everybody knows how I feel. I hate Northern Hemisphere rugby except for MLR. But this is, you can find used copies of this, like, everywhere. Like, this game is rubbish. I don't even know who produced this. Who is this? HB Studios. You should be damn ashamed of yourself for producing this. This is garbage. This is a horrible rugby game. Now, if you can find it for like $3 somewhere, go ahead and pick it up just to say you own a rugby game. But if it's anything more than free, you're paying too much for this because it's absolutely trash. It's a horrible game. Then we get to what a lot consider the gold standard, and I will agree. We get Jonah Lomu Rugby. Yeah. Oh, man. True Blue Games, who I think does the best rugby games. I was going to talk about the ones that I don't have hard copies of. Rugby Challenge 3, Rugby Challenge 4. I think this is Rugby Challenge 3, just the Jonah, or there was like an All Blacks edition, yada, yada, yada. They also do the Rugby League games. I have not played any of those. I've been told they're pretty damn good, too. But True Blue Games, I think, does the best justice. The rosters aren't the best, but the gameplay is fun. This is for Xbox 360. If I still had the 360 play, I would play this still on a fairly regular basis. This, along with the Rugby Challenge games, I think are personally the best rugby games. And if you live here in North America, you can get Rugby Challenge 3 and 4 on the PlayStation Store. And then we get a commercial here, obviously. I will block this out. You can get the Rugby Challenge games here pretty easily on PlayStation and Xbox stores. They are, to me, the best games. Now, you ask about Rugby 22. Well, I also own Rugby 20, put out by the same people that put Rugby 22 out, and I barely play it. I still prefer Rugby Challenge over those games, over this game. I just think that the gameplay is better, the rosters are better, and it's just a much better experience. So I guess with closing in that, if you're an American guy and you want to download a rugby game, go on PlayStation Store, go on Xbox, and download Rugby Challenge 4 or Rugby Challenge 3. They're both heaps of fun. They're great. They're entertaining. They're exciting. They're difficulty. Now, the only downside I do have about that is, one, the rosters aren't perfect, and two is I've gotten to the point on Rugby Challenge 4 where I can put at the hardest difficulty, play as the United States, and still, I don't beat everybody, but I can hold my own. I can hold my own, and there's no problem with that whatsoever. So, with that being said, leaves us, what are we to do next? I know there's been heaps of calls for EA Sports to get back into the rugby video game world, and I agree. They should. Come on, EA. You know, we have to deal with really bad NFL games and NHL games at times. But why don't you get back into the rugby business? This is the fastest growing sport in the world, guys. Let's get back into the rugby business. And I would love to see them do a rugby game. Now, the problem is, could you get Northern and Southern Hemisphere teams to sign off? Could you get Sanzar? Could you get URC? Could you get Premiership? Could you get Pro 12? Could you get Pro 14? Could you get MLR? Could you get the SLAR? Could you get all of these unions to sign off on a game? And the problem is probably not. Probably one of my biggest complaints about NHL games is, why are there no KHL teams in them? You know, it's a very competitive league, and then I found out it's because they financially can't. It's part of their collective bargaining agreement there in the KHL that they cannot be in video games. So I get that, but come on, EA. There's lots of money. It's like the meme. Take my money, EA. Take my money. Do a justice. Do a proper rugby game, EA. It'd be happy for all of us in the world that are still gamers. I know a lot of older guys aren't too into it, but hey, look, I'm of that age to where I still play video games almost every day. So yeah, with that being said, hey, EA Sports, get on it and take my money. But yeah, with that being said, guys, got a team party Saturday night with the Dallas Jackals. I will be in attendance. Hopefully I can get some more interview footage for you guys. And I hope everyone is doing well in the world. You know, it turned bloody cold overnight here and rained like hell, and now it's just kind of dreary. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well, and I will talk to you guys again all very soon. Cheers, guys.